Hello people, how are you? I come to bring you a new video, my first video on this channel. And if you see that there is something strange, it is that my main content is not in this language. And I also translated it the best I could, so I hope you enjoy the video. Bye. And this manhwa begins with an apparent fight. And what we are seeing now is what our protagonist, who calls himself Roken, apparently is facing an entire guild. And a woman tells him that he is a pest and that he should die. And Roken answers that if he is a pest, that they are just flies. And an explanation that they give us, of these characters, who appear here, is that the first one calls himself Zeus, and that he is in the global ranking number 2, and the other who calls himself Thor, is in the global ranking number 2. 4, and that the two belong to a guild called Ragnarok. And the one who appears now calls himself Odin, the king of the creation of the world, and is ranked number 1 globally. And Odin, while walking towards Roken, tells him, what a shame, and what a disappointment that the king of violence, Roken, who used to have the position of number 1, in global rank, was going to fall so low, and that now it's time to give up, and he tells him that how many times he has died by his hands, and he tells him to go under his wings, that then he will give him everything he has lost, and that it is his last chance, and to consider it wisely, and Roken, laughing, says that he can go to hell, that it will soon destroy him, and that he better be careful. And meanwhile, a system window appears saying that Roken is dead, and that the death penalty is that the level decreases, and that an equipped armor will drop, at a random percentage, and that you will be forced to log out. And we see that Roken comes out of an apparent capsule and says, that again, that he has lost again, and curses himself, hitting the floor. And now they explain to us that the virtual reality game, which is called, Sir, appeared out of nowhere and shocked the world, and that it was a reality, perfect, with graphics and sensations that are barely different from reality, and with a world larger than the Earth, and even an AI, which speaks and behaves like real people, and our protagonist, Roken, was the strongest in that world, the first in the ranking, the first in solo combat ability, and the SSS rank user, strongest within the Berserker class, and they called him, the King of Violence, Roken. Hello people, thank you for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed. Everything changed. And our protagonist says that no matter how he sees Odin, he still doesn't understand how he can have so many powers, and where do he get so many powers from? And also, that's the 8th time, those Ragnarok bastards, and that the level drops every time he dies, and that even his equipment drops by a random percentage, and angrily he says that he is the Supreme Lord Roken, and that when they bragged about the money they had won in the game, he gave everything he could to the game, and determinedly says that he would rather die than give up after being defeated by those bastards. And he says, he's going to see who gives up first. And that he will defeat them all one by one, and that he will never give up on losers like him. And we see how Roken is lying dying on the ground, and the system tells Roken that he can no longer keep the nickname of the King of Violence, for not meeting the minimum requirements. And Odin tells him that he has even lost his RANKER status, and that it is no longer worth killing him, and everyone leaves, leaving him alone and dying on the ground, and Roken says that he has finally asked for everything, the nickname of the King of Violence, his level, and all the items he had. And the legend of Roken, the strongest and most violent entity in the game, ended in a pathetic way. And suddenly our protagonist appears, lying in his bed. And he says that in the end there was no plot twist, and that he continued to weaken, and that he was unable to defeat those bastards, who continually grew in strength. And he curses himself, and says that the rent is due tomorrow, and that he has to sell the rest of the gold he has left, but he wonders where the virtual reality capsule is, that used to be in that place, and he wonders if did you request your recovery yesterday? And he answers that he doesn't remember having done that, and that he didn't even open the door, and realizing something, he says that he is not at home, where he was, and he realizes that not only was he not there at home, but he wasn't in his year either, and the person he's talking to tells him he asks, because he asks the date suddenly, and what was happening with him, was he okay? And suddenly, Roken runs out, and this guy says that after having been abandoned by his girlfriend a few days ago, that at the same time he seemed to have gone crazy. And Roken says that that is without a doubt the neighborhood he lived in 3 years ago, and that that was his usual store, and he wonders what the hell was going on, and that after being lynched by those guys, they stripped him of his title and was dying pathetically, and he remembers that he finally died from a blue lightning bolt, but when he opened his eyes he was already in reality, and 3 years in the past, and the Lord's game had not yet come out, and he wonders if he was dreaming or something like that, and he says that this must be something planned by Odin, and that he must be playing with his mind, with some strange ability, and he shouts in front of everyone, Odin's name, and that he should not do that shit, and that he should fight with him face to face. And now we see our protagonist, who apparently had been arrested, and the policeman tells him that he will let him go this time and not to do it again. And Roken wonders if psychological attacks are usually so detailed, and what would Odin benefit from making him hallucinate in that way, and still not convinced with what was happening, he sees a light post, and hits his head with him, and apparently at that moment, he is somewhat convinced, and says that it seems quite real. And we move to another scene where they are doing a bit of sparring, and some people say, what kind of martial arts is that, and is it kickboxing, and that they had never seen a martial art like that, and that because of its big movements, it could be Sambo, and just in case Sambo is a Russian martial art, and Roken says that they've obviously never seen it before, because that's his own style of martial art, optimized just for him, that he polished in the game, sir, and that soon a bun will happen, in martial arts, when it comes out the game, and it is because players will frequently die from off low-level monsters, because their level of control would be terrible, and for players who have only played with a mouse and keyboard, it was impossible to get used to a total immersion virtual reality game so quickly. But Roken says that there was still something more important, and that was the understanding and mastery of one's own body, and that you have to know how to control the muscles from the head to the fingers and toes, and depending on the total control capacity that you have over your own body, is directly correlated with the control capacity that you will have in the game. And Roken says that it is time to accept it, that he has returned 3 years to the past, and that in a month the game will be launched, and that the game was everything to him, and laughing he says that just wait, that it will be reborn like someone whose shadow cannot be stepped on, and it will shatter them. And now a month has passed since that, we see how Roken is finally entering the game, and a voice says that the system is starting. And the voice keeps saying, please say his name, and our protagonist says, Roken, my name is Roken, and the system says welcome to the world of Mr. Roken. And the system tells Roken if he wants to start the tutorial, and if he doesn't start the tutorial, he won't be able to get the tutorial reward, and Roken accepts immediately. And he says that the King of Violence has returned. And the system says that he has achieved an exceptional achievement, that he has defeated a monster stronger than him, and has acquired the title of Born Fighter. And that the effect of a Born Fighter is that it increases one's strength. And they explain to us that the special characteristic of the achievement system is that when one performs a special act or achieves something almost impossible, it will increase your statistics, or you will play a special effect. And the method of hunting leveling up monsters is the most inefficient thing you can do in the game. And Roken says that the tutorial condition is actually quite simple, and the condition is to survive in this village, which is burning, against a pack of invading goblins, and all you have to try to do is avoid the goblins and escape from the village, and not only do you not receive experience, due to the fact that what is the tutorial, but it is also difficult for a player level 1. Face the goblins simultaneously, and Roken says, yes there is a real way to beat the tutorial, and they explain to us that 2 months after the official launch of the game, an eccentric user named Tolkien appeared, who had doubts about why the goal of the tutorial was to survive instead of flee, and found the perfect cleaning method after hundreds of attempts, and Roken says that he had heard that he obtained an exceptional reward, which far exceeds the basic reward. And the only one who knows the perfect cleaning method is him. And he says that the cleaning method he discovered was eradicate the herd of goblins, which had invaded the village without leaving a single person alive. And according to the method there are a total of 25 goblins invading the village. And the first option for that is, as the saying goes, divide and conquer, defeating them one by one, and Roken, every alpha male says that hiding and ambushing goblins is not his style, and that he has killed 9 goblins that way. But that method probably won't work anymore, because when the number of goblins drops below 15, the leader will sense the danger, and will gather the rest, and after that they will stay together no matter what the user does. And it was time to use the second method. And the system says that Roken has 20% of his health left, and that bodily functions will be reduced. And Roken says that he thought he was going to die, and that he was too reckless to fight 3 goblins head-on. And that a position on the verge of death is always the best. And Roken tells the goblins that they were looking for him, and if so, that they should go look for him. And he says he has prepared something especially for them, taking a few potions at the same time, and saying that this is the second method of cleansing, being overloaded. And the system says that you have used a low-grade strengthening potion called Strength, and that the strength will increase by 10, and it goes on to say that you have used another low-grade skill position, and that the skill will increase by 10. So Roken says that only those who frequently use the achievement system will be able to grow at a faster rate. And the system says that he has obtained a surprising achievement, easily defeating a large number of opponents stronger than him. And that he has acquired the title of Natural Fighter, and that he is the first to acquire that title, and that since he is the first to acquire that title, the effects will increase, and that the effects of the title are that strength and dexterity increase by 3, and the critical rate increases by 5% when fighting 5 or more people. And Roken says that this gives the bonus of the first acquisition, and says that he is only level 1. But his current statistics are 15 strength and 14 dexterity, and that those statistics are on par with a level 10, but he cannot calm down, because there were still goblins. And Roken says that goblin is much stronger and faster than normal, and that he knew that the bosses would be different, and he says that even so, he is just a goblin. And that he has already analyzed his simple pattern, and Roken says that the problem was never his strength or speed, but his crazy defense, and that this is going to be a nuisance. And that he can't deliver a killing blow with his current stats and weapons, and that they should fit him about 5 minutes of the strengthening potion. And he tells the goblin, all serious, to be ready for what is coming. And he says, a strategic retreat while fleeing.
Mientras huye.
And he says that the goblin has broken his rib, and that because the game has to make things so realistic. And that it was time to use the latest thing he got. And the system says, you are using a lower grade fire resistance scroll. And it says that the fire resistance will increase by 30 for the next 10 minutes, and Roken says that he just has to attract it, while he is abruptly interrupted. And he tells the goblin, who seems a little angry, and why don't they talk a little?
Y el sistema le dice a Roken que ha recibido 74 de daño y que la vitalidad ha caído por debajo del 10%.
And Roken tells him, what if that's fun? And he tells him to laugh as much as he wants because it will be the last time he does it. And he says, this is strategy number 3, use your environment. And Roken says, he's doing this for the reward, but it's sad to see the old king of violence fight like this. And the system interrupts him and says that he has defeated the armed goblin, and that Roken's vitality is below 1%. And Roken says that having to rely on strategies that others found makes him ashamed. And he says that Odin is guilty of making him experience that shame, and that he just hopes that he will make sure to return the favor multiplied by 10. And he corrects himself and says, no, by 100 of what he is experiencing at that moment. And the voice of the system interrupts him and says that he has completed the tutorial, and that he has obtained an incredible achievement. That he has defeated an opponent 10 levels above him, and that he has acquired the title of the Descendant of David. and that he is the first to obtain that title. And the system goes on to say that he has achieved another incredible achievement. That he has defeated a lot of stronger opponents, and that he has achieved the title 17-1, and that he is the first to obtain that title. And the system continues saying that he has achieved an impossible achievement, that he has passed the tutorial perfectly, and has acquired the title, Nothing is Impossible, and that he is the first to obtain that title. And that you will receive the basic rewards for passing the tutorial. And that you have obtained 10 hard barley loaves, and 50 copper, and the additional rewards for completing the tutorial are 5 unknown chests, and everyone happily says that of course the ones that rewards are lovely, and he asks why he doesn't see what his new titles do. And he's surprised and says it's incredible. And the effects of the first title, called Nothing is Impossible of legendary rank, are your relationship with the NPCs of neutral alignment. And with the NPCs of the alliance, will begin to become friendly, and the competition required to level up your skills of class will be reduced by 30%. And Roken is surprised and says that this is a legendary class title, and he can't believe it, and says that getting reputation and skill boosts is already overwhelming. But there are 3 more effects that haven't been unlocked, and that only with this degree will he be able to advance his plans much faster. And he corrects himself by saying that not only will he advance much faster, but he will be able to remake his plans. And the system says that the other title, which is called Descendant of David, single rank, its effects are that when entering combat with a higher level opponent, you will receive a 10% increase
del
in all
10% en todas las estadísticas.
And the other title, which is
Y el
called
otro título,
17
que se denomina
single rank,
17-1
its effects
de
are that
rango
when
único,
entering into
sus
combat
efectos
with
son
many
que al
opponents,
entrar
the
en
defense
combate
will
con
increase
muchos
by
oponentes,
10%.
la defensa aumentará
And
en un
depending on the number of
10% y
opponents you
dependiendo
face,
del número de
defense may
oponentes,
increase up to
a los
30%. And Roken says that although the other titles are of a single rank, the effects are also incredible, and that it is time that there will be all the chests.
de que abra todos los cofres.
And now we move on to another scene, where we see how Roken gets nostalgic and says that a long time had passed since the last time he set foot in that place. What is it? The city of the beginning. The Pocket City. And he says he already knew it, but he's still surprised, because it was quite full. And he says, if there were not some here, some of the followers of Odin, and the guys who follow him. And Roken says, he would like to find them immediately, and beat each of them to death, but that's too much for the moment. And that Odin interrupted the scene, after having acquired the title of the King of Creation, and that happened 2 years after the release of the game. And Roken says that it's strange no matter how much he thinks about it, because at that time, dozens of high rankers swore allegiance to him, and even changed their nicknames and their appearance, and that's why he called all the players in the role category, like cringes, and he doesn't understand why they wore cosplays of Norse and Greek gods. But anyway, searching for those guys now would be impossible. And he wonders who these guys are, and what kind of reward they were promised for showing such excessive loyalty. And what if they were bribed with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and what if Odin is the son of the CEO of some large company? And he says that he has to forget about them, and that the most important thing is to prepare for the day he meets them again, and that he has to become stronger than anyone else, and what he has to do first is. And an unexpected person interrupts him and says, hey, do you want to get stronger? And he tells him to go with him because he can become as strong as him. And Roken says, maybe it's because it's the first day, but there are a lot of people at the training ground, and they'll probably leave soon, and he tells the man, who wants to use the training ground. And this man tells him that he can see the potential he has, and that he cannot ask someone who will be a big shot in the future to pay the same price as the others, and only pay him 20 copper. And the system says that the relationship with the neutral NPCs and with the NPCs of the Alliance will start being friendly. And Roken is surprised and says that normally the entrance price should be 30 copper. And Roken says that he missed that feeling, and that the scarecrows at the training ground are one of the ways to gain experience in Pocket City, and that in the early stages. If you hit them you will gain experience points, and thanks to that's why many users rushed Tote first, but soon they realized doing quests for the NPCs would give you more experience. And they would give you money or food as a reward, and even if you resisted in the training ground you would have to pay the usage fee and eat food, and you would still spend money. And Roken says, but of course, in his past life he considered it a waste of time and ignored it as well. However, leveling up is not the true purpose of the training camp. And the system says, the strength has increased by 1. And Roken says, that's what he wanted, and that if you spend a certain amount of time beating the scarecrows until your stamina runs out, you'll increase your stats by 1, unrelated to leveling up, and that the only person who should know that, in that same moment should be him. And that even if someone else knew, no one else would bother to do it, and that using the time to do quests would seem to increase your stats faster. And Roken says, however, that it will always be like this? And since the levels are low, it could rise from level 10 to 20 in 1 or 2 days. And what a time it is boring and difficult, but may the day come when the statistics you have raised will bear fruit. And now putting those thoughts aside, he says, it's time to get back to work. And 10 days pass since then. And Roken says that as your level goes up, simple hits will not be enough to increase your statistics. And the system says that you have acquired an incredible achievement, that you have increased your strength, dexterity, stamina and physical endurance to the maximum possible in the training field, and that you will not be able to increase your statistics any further in the training fields. And who has earned the title of Worked Hard? And the system says that he has acquired another incredible achievement, and that it would not be an exaggeration to say that he is the strongest man in the village, since he has defeated a scarecrow in less than a minute, and that he has earned the title of the strongest in the neighborhood. And the effects of the first title, that is called Hard Worker, single rank, is that you will need 10% less experience to level up. And the effect of the other title, which is called the strongest man in the neighborhood, of rare rank, is that the strength will increase by 5. And Roken is happy and says that it's finally over, and that it's time to start leveling up. And the old man interrupts him and says that if he wants to be stronger, and that he has been watching him closely for the last 10 days, and that a man with guts like him will be able to do it. And that if he wants, he will show him a blueprint. Superior, and what do you think if you follow him? And Roken thinks, it seems like some kind of occult quest, and he's never heard of anything like it. And Roken says that he would never have thought that there would be a secret passage under the training fields, and the old man tells him that it's dark, and to be careful. And they say, while thinking, that the old man mentioned a higher plane, and hopes that it is some hidden work or skill. And the old man tells him that they are already at the place, and that this is an advanced training camp for those who have been selected. And Roken tells him, what does he mean by a higher plane, that is just another training device. And the old man tells him that this is no ordinary training device, and that he moves exactly how a human would move, and that he reacts to your attacks and counterattacks, and that even Rockcan could die, since he's not even level 10. And the old man keeps telling him, what if he wants to try it? And he tells her in advance that he only has 1 try. And Roken says he's still angry, but it could be fun. And Rockcan exclaims that those puppets are quite strong for being toys, and says why don't they have a little fun? And now 5 days have passed since Roka entered. And we see how Roken has reached level 10, and has reached the limit of additional statistics, and what is better than that is, that he has achieved an achievement that is called Unbreakable. Resolve, Epic Grade, and the effects of this title are, which gains resistance against all off-debuffs, based on mentality, and that when vitality is below 5%, all stats get a 50% bonus, and Roken says, he never imagined he could win a title like that, in a place like that, and that it took him too much work in his other life to get such a title, and that he is happy to have been able to get it. Hello people, thank you for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it, subscribe, like, and comment, and I won't interrupt you anymore, bye.